Oh, I really hope I get this administrative mess of my life sorted out soon. It's so tiresome, you know, you need all day frequently to get something done. Well, now I've gone and done it. I had a conversation just now with a woman who's English mother tongue, bilingual like me, but we're both English mother tongue. She's British in origin, by birth. And I talked to her. She mentioned, oh, I think it's going to rain. And even though it's very sunny, I'm actually cold. I love air conditioning. It's rare here. They don't consider it healthy. But where I've been waiting is air conditioned, and I got quite a chill. And I actually started to shiver, and I'm not a chilly person at all. I really like cold things and cold places. I don't like heat or sunlight much at all. And I talked to her about chemtrails. And, boy. So when she said, oh, here they come. So when she said, strange weather we're having, and I think it's going to rain, I said, well, you know, they're doing that weather modification today. And she kind of looked at me like, what? And I said, yeah, I saw it this morning, you know, in the morning. You see these lines crisscrossing in the sky. They look like contrails. And then about an hour later, they spread into a haze, this sort of weird haze. And then after that, you get these puffy clouds. And she got up and left. So, I guess I've always been a doomer chick. A lot of people don't know how to take that, that's for sure. It's kind of interesting. I had a virtual flirt a week or so ago on YouTube. From a man, I don't know where he was, saying I sounded like a pretty neat doomer chick, doomer gal, and was I available? And I said, oh, that's nice. No, I'm not. And he said, oh, that's too bad because I like them and I'm looking for one and I find them rather hard to find. And I said, oh, well, sorry, you know. I'm starting to warm up a little bit. I'm very weak. I just tried to eat something and I could barely eat. I felt like I was going to lose it, so I had to stop. Yeah, I think I definitely saw, finally, today, chemtrails and weather modification. And I do think that yesterday, and I told her, I said, and I think I saw one of those Morgellons fibers yesterday floating by, and it really creeped me out. They're neither animal, vegetable, nor mineral. And that was when she got up and left. You know. While I was waiting also, I spoke to another woman who's French and who doesn't speak English very well. But she sort of wanted a little English chat. So I told her about some of this stuff and about how a lot of people are very paranoid these days and they're very worried and they're very disturbed by what's going on. And she agreed with me, you know, there is a lot of weird, I mean, not weird, disturbing stuff going on, you know, disasters and stuff. And I said to her, yeah, you know, I'm hearing from people in Australia, New Zealand, the United States, Canada, and they're very, England, and they're very, you know, scared, really. And some of them asked me, you know, how are people in France? And I said, pretty happy, you know, they're okay, you know, they have their problems, but they're pretty happy. And she agreed with me. And that was kind of a nice conversation. She didn't get up and leave, and I thanked her for chatting with me, because I'm very bored, waiting and waiting and waiting, which is what you have to do when you do la paperasse here, you know, administrative things. And of course, if you call to confirm, it really doesn't do you that much good. It's polite to do so, but you can only call on the phone here between 9 in the morning and noon, and then you have to stop for the lunch break. It's really not polite to call between about 12 and 2. And then you have from about 2 until about 4 or 5, 6 o'clock when you can call. And then you have to stop, and nobody phones anybody at home at 7 because that's dinner time, and they certainly don't call after that, and definitely not at 8 because I don't have a TV, as you know, or may remember, or may not care. But 8 is when the TV news comes on, and so that's where most of France is at 8 o'clock, is looking at the TV news. So it's only like friends call each other at night if that's their habit and if they have permission. An American company had a representative call me a few months ago, and it was 11 o'clock at night, France time. And my mother is very ill, and my father-in-law is extremely ill. And you know, when the phone rings that late at night in France, it's never good news. Now, I do tell friends, I'm trying to keep very regular, more normal hours these days. You know, if there's somebody that I would like to hear from, and I'm not a telephone person at all, but I tell them, don't worry about the time difference. You can call. If I'm up, I'll answer and tell you whether or not we can talk or not. If you have a landline, I can call you back for free, but otherwise you'll fall into my voicemail. But I was really incensed because this was an idiot from some American company, and oh yeah, that's right, by the time I got to the phone, she had fallen into voicemail. So, you know, you pick up the phone, there's nobody there, you've got a couple sick people in the family, and you're like, oh my God, what was that? What's happened? I know it's bad news. I know it's bad news. So then a few minutes later, it registered on my voicemail, and it was, yeah, she's calling and leaving an 888 number, and I've been writing to that company for 18 years, telling them 888 numbers don't work from France, 800 numbers may work, but they're not free. They cost about €1 a minute. They're very expensive. We cannot call collect, blah, blah, blah. You know, they've had this in writing from me for years. None of them get it, you know. The only one who did was American Express, but I haven't used them in years. They actually had an 800 number which worked from Europe. So if you have like Visa or something, and you come over here, and you lose your card, and it's like, oh, call us if you lose your card. There's an 800 number there, but if you're in Europe, you can't use it to call them. Well, you can, but you have to pay, and none of the payphones here take coins. And I've been telling this to them for years, but they just don't get it. Capitalism failed, you know? So, since I couldn't call her back, I had to write a snail mail and lick a stamp. It's 87 euro cents also, it's not cheap. And I said, this bitch called me. I didn't write that, but that's how I felt. And she didn't even take it into consideration what, you know, the time zone was. I mean, that's just stupid. You know, I don't know where she was, Texas or something, I'm not sure, Chicago. But, you know you're calling the other side of the world. There's going to be a time difference. It's a business call. You know, you could check. And I wrote and I explained, you know, 11 p.m., don't ever do that again. In fact, don't call me. I've told you before, I don't want to hear from you on the phone. You snail mail me, and I will snail mail you back. And Then a few months later, I got another form letter telling me to call them on their 888 number. All right, thank you for listening to me kvetch. Maybe this administrative thing will happen in a few minutes. But my hopes are not too high. Okay. Weather modification. Great. Just great.